Muy buenas, bienvenidos a otro podcast. A continuación vamos a ver una entrevista que realicé con una persona, un políglota que conocí en el 2019, en concreto en el Polyglot Gathering de Bratislava, y que, es una persona muy interesante en el tema de los idiomas. En concreto, él lleva muchos años trabajando con una página web que se llama Omniglot, y de ahí saqué información muy interesante, de la que, algunos aspectos tocamos durante la charla, sobre todo referente a sus podcasts. Y hay uno que me llamó poderosamente la atención, que es un poco lo que él comenta, por qué algunas personas dejan de estudiar idiomas, ¿no? El podcast se llama Giving Up, y él da básicamente tres principales razones, ¿no? La primera es la pérdida de interés, the loss of interest. La segunda es el tiempo, time. Y la tercera, get distracted. Son las distracciones que tenemos, ¿no? En este mundo tan intenso en el que vivimos. Bueno, en principio mi intención era hacer la entrevista en español, pero bueno, su español no era lo suficientemente fluido como para hacerla en condiciones, y bueno, finalmente he tomado la decisión de hacerla en inglés. Es mi primer podcast en inglés. Mi intención, insisto, es pues difundir todo lo que es el conocimiento de idiomas y el aprendizaje de ellos, de los mismos, en español al mercado hispanohablante. Pero bueno, yo creo que al final el inglés como lengua franca siempre es un recurso principal, ¿no? Cuando no se puede, como es este caso, realizarlo en español. Hay otra faceta de Simon que me causa un profundo respeto. Yo creo que es de las personas que conozco la única que puedo decir que habla chino mandarín con fluidez. Y eso para mí, sabiendo lo complicado que puede llegar a aprender un idioma como ese, merece todos mis respetos. Bueno, pues sin mayor demora, pasamos a continuación a la charla, que espero que les resulte de interés, a la conversación entre Simon y yo, sobre diferentes aspectos, como siempre, relacionados con el aprendizaje de los idiomas y la motivación, ¿no?, a la hora de realizarlo. Un saludo y hasta pronto.
Simon, if you want, just without further ado, we can start.
Okay, let's do that.
If you want, just to a very quick introduction to talk about yourself and about your experiences with languages, it would be fine, and then we just continue with some other questions.
Okay, right. Hello, my name's Simon Ager. I live in the UK. I have learnt quite a few languages, over 30 I've studied, in fact, and I speak 5 of them more or less fluently. That's English, French, Welsh, Irish Gaelic, and Mandarin Chinese. And there's another 10 or so I can have conversations in reasonably well. And the rest I know moderately badly.
You also have a website.
Oh, yes. I run a little website called omniglot.com, which is an online encyclopedia of language systems and writing systems and languages.
Wonderful. I got some topics that I would like to talk with you the next around half an hour, more or less. And okay. Some of them, it's some topics that you talk in some of your podcasts. But in any case, I would like to start with the question, why Chinese? Why did you take this decision to start with this pretty easy language?
Good question. Well, at school, at secondary school, I studied French and German, and I was planning to continue studying one or the other at university. And I, in fact, was ready to go to study German and Swedish at a university. And then I decided that everybody does European languages. It's boring. Let's do something more exotic. So I thought, what could I do? And I looked at courses in Chinese and Japanese and Arabic and Russian, and I thought, Chinese sounds interesting. It's a big country, lots of potential. This was back in the 1980s when I was thinking about this. And I applied for a course at the University of Leeds in England, and they said, we're doing this new course in Chinese and Japanese. Do you want to try that? So I thought, yeah, why not? Give it a go. And I hadn't studied either language before, so I didn't know what I was letting myself in for.
I mean, for me, it's really amazing. I can just imagine a little bit how complex may be study this language. But I would like to ask you, I mean, for instance, for how many years have you been studying this language, and on average, how many, I don't know, hours of minutes per day? Just as a curiosity.
Well, I started studying languages at school at the age of 11, but well, yeah. Apart from formal lessons, I started trying to teach myself languages at the age of 18 after I left school. And I wanted, what did I start with? I actually started with Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd try and learn a bit of Japanese before starting my university course. I didn't get very far with that. At that time, I didn't really know how to learn a language on my own. I bought a language course. I did some lessons. I found it very difficult, so I gave up. I didn't have the dedication or the discipline to study every day. But since then, I've managed to learn a number of languages on my own and become fluent in them. And for the past 4 years, I've been studying every day without fail, every single day, doing lessons on Duolingo and other apps. I find apps like that very good to study with because they encourage you to do small lessons regularly, and you get rewards when you finish lessons, and you can compare yourself with other people and follow people, see how they're doing, the kind of gamification of language. And some of the things you learn might not be very useful. You might learn some very weird phrases sometimes, but the way I see it, they're memorable because they're so unusual, and they teach you. Maybe not all the words they teach you are immediately useful in your everyday conversations, but the structures they teach you, the grammar points they teach you are useful, and you can apply them to other situations. And because they're such crazy phrases sometimes, you remember them.
Interesting. Have you ever been to China, or just...
Yes, I spent 2 months in China back in 1991, just traveling around and sightseeing. But I spent 5 years in Taiwan. 1 semester, 5 months actually, during my university studies. I went there to study Chinese, and then went to Japan to study Japanese, then traveled in China. So I spent a year abroad. That was my second year of my university studies. And then after I graduated, I went back to Taiwan. I had a scholarship to study Chinese for another year. Then I got a job with the British Council. Part of my job was meeting local people, advising them about studying in the UK. And I was using my Mandarin every day, so I became fluent. And I also picked up some basic Taiwanese, which is another Sinitic language spoken in Taiwan, and tried to learn Cantonese because I thought it'd be nice to work in Hong Kong or somewhere where they spoke Cantonese perhaps one day. And I had some friends from Hong Kong and Macau where they speak Cantonese. And I also tried to learn some Korean because I had some friends from Korea and they taught me a bit of basic Korean. But I never got very far with that. And also that's when I started learning Spanish, because I had an idea that I'd like to go and travel, maybe work in Latin America. So I thought I should learn some Spanish.
Now we will continue with the Spanish, but I just to finish with this first language, with the Chinese. You know, I have here in front of me, that's a picture that I did.
Yeah.
From, you remember, it was the polyglot gathering of 2019
yeah.
in Bratislava, where we met, in fact.
Yeah.
And here it's 14 languages, maybe. And I think you are the first person that I know that may speak Chinese at the sea level. That's why I'm really impressed, because and the question is, can you keep just a normal, not something, let's say, in a very specific or with a little bit difficult words, just a daily conversation fluently in this language?
Yes, I can. I haven't used it much recently. And occasionally I meet people who speak Mandarin and I have conversations with them, but I don't use it regularly at the moment.
So I guess that you have friends there or around China and Taiwan. And you
some friends in Taiwan.
Exactly. You use internet, and from time to time you keep conversation with them. It's more
that sort of thing. Yeah, and I meet people here as well. There are many students from China and Taiwan and other places who speak Mandarin in where I live in Bangor in North Wales.
Okay, and another question. I told you last time when we talked that now I'm investing a lot of time trying to improve my Russian, and at the same time I'm trying to keep. It's difficult, but at least to keep the level of German. For me, the language is not. English is not such a big problem. French is quite close to Spanish, but now it's for me it's something new. How to deal with learning on one side such a difficult language, as you know. We'll talk about that later. The Russian language, and at the same time, how to keep another language that is not so easy. At least for me, like the German language. How do you deal with so many languages in time? And for instance, not to forget something that it has nothing to do with maybe any other language, I guess, like the Mandarin.
Yeah, well, you just have to try and find time to read things, listen to things, watch movies, TV shows, listen to podcasts in the languages you're interested in. And I do watch stuff on YouTube in various languages, in ones I'm learning at the moment, like Swedish and Danish and Dutch and Spanish. And also I listen to radio in Welsh and Irish sometimes.
Okay.
I don't manage to maintain all my languages, because I've got quite a lot. But the ones that are important to me, I every Thursday night I meet some friends and we talk French to each other.
Okay, that's
so I keep my French going like that. With more difficult languages like Russian and Japanese and Chinese,
it's really complicated. I always said I don't have enough space in my head to keep everything together, and when I make an effort to put something inside, the pressure is so high that it's getting out something on the other side.
Well, if you're not studying a particular language, you just want to maintain your level, then find things that are fun that you enjoy doing.
Absolutely.
To do with it, like reading or watching TV or whatever it might be.
If
you like sports,
for me that's
you can find, you watch sports in a different language.
Just to find the right content that are interesting for you.
Whatever you like to do or watch or listen to.
Exactly. Why Spanish, Simon?
Well, originally it was because I was planning to travel in Latin America, and I just found it interesting and relatively easy compared with Chinese and Japanese and other languages.
I guess
I've tried. Although, as you learn more, you realize the grammar can be quite complex.
I think it's the Spanish language. It's a little bit like English language. At the beginning, you can progress very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you get some kind of meseta, and you need really much more time just to continue with your progress. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you think you're doing well, then you watch something from a different Spanish-speaking country, and you think, I don't know what they're talking about. Because maybe their pronunciation is different, so they use different words, different slang.
Exactly. I remember I had a good friend of mine when I was living in Berlin. As a matter of fact, she was my German teacher for some months. And finally, she traveled to Chile. And I remember many times she told me, she spoke perfectly Spanish. She told me, I'm learning again Spanish. And she told me many words in that she heard usually in Chile. And I told her, don't worry, it's my mother tongue. I have no idea about the meaning of all these words. It's normal. I mean, I think it's also happening
exactly.
with many other
It's
languages.
the same with English or French.
Exactly.
If you learn English, American English, and then you come to Britain, you'll find there's lots of things you don't understand, or vice versa. Or if you learn French in France and then you go to Canada, there's a lot of things you won't understand.
Many differences. Russian. What happened with Russian? I heard one of your podcasts that you got it at the beginning with a lot of motivation, and then just disappeared.
well, when I first started learning Russian many years ago, and I was working as a web designer, building websites in various languages, including Russian. So I thought it'd be useful to learn some. And I tried learning it with Rosetta Stone. And it's the only language I've learned with Rosetta Stone, or tried to learn. But I soon realized it wasn't the course for me. It didn't really work. It may have been changed since then. I haven't tried any other languages. But then, I bought this course. It was lots of CDs, and it was very confusing because you had pictures and you had to work out which part of the picture the words referred to, and it wasn't always clear. If it's just one thing, one object or one person or something, then maybe you can work it out. But it was like, there's a man sitting in the tree. Is it sitting? Is it tree? Is it man? Is it...
You get confused very easily.
Yeah. So, they say you're learning like you do as a child, but it's nothing like that at all. Because as a child, you're surrounded by people speaking the language all the time, and you don't have any other language to fall back on.
Exactly.
You have to be able to learn to communicate in order to get what you want at first.
What did you find maybe the most difficult things with this language, with Russian language?
With Russian, the grammar is the thing I find most difficult, and being able to read it fluently. I mean, the alphabet isn't difficult to learn. You can learn it quickly, but actually being able to read it confidently takes a lot more practice.
Yes, definitely. You know what I'm doing? I have forgotten. I started a little bit, the first maybe 1 year, 1.5 years. And now at least for the moment, maybe in 6 months, I will start with a good grammar book to at least to have a general picture of the language, of the grammar. But now I'm just, and I'm not very good learning by hearing, but I'm just what I'm doing. I'm just learning vocabulary, trying to learn in context, reading books, and then speaking and listening and trying to read aloud to improve the pronunciation, because you're right, it's not easy at all, and the accent are moving without any rule. It's completely random. So it's for me, I made a huge effort with the grammar. I mean, for German you have no choice, you need to study grammar, but now with Russian I tried to change a little bit the strategy, and I said, okay, grammar, it's relatively important, maybe not so important like in German, but I'm going to leave it aside for a while, and then let's see. And for the moment, it's okay. For me, what's really difficult, it's just try to remind the new words, because I don't find most of the time any connection with anything. So it's just something that you put in the air, and when you just take your hands out, just fall down, and you cannot do anything. That's what it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, what I found useful with Russian, if you come across a word and you think, I don't know where that comes from, what it's related to, look at the etymology, look where it comes from, the root of it, and then you'll find lots of other words from the same root.
Interesting.
I did this in Czech as well. For an example, like agreement, to agree is something like souhlas, Slorklasit or something like that. And the root there is klas, which is golas in Russian, voice.
Golas.
Golas, yeah.
Golas.
Class. So you're kind of with voicing when you agree with somebody.
I know
and
what
things
you mean.
like that.
You just try to find a relationship with something that maybe you already
and then you can see other words which are related.
Yes.
And then you can see patterns, and then that's what I like to find, kind of connections between words within a language and between languages as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like look at the word like pleb for bread, and you think, now where does that come from? And if you look at the roots, then you can find connections in other languages, maybe.
Interesting. I did something similar when I was learning German, and I also tried to learn the adjective, name and noun and verb, and maybe adverb also at the same time, because it was quite similar.
Yeah.
But I never used etymology, like just to mention. It's I will try with some typical verbs.
It might help.
Yeah, it could be quite helpful.
Yeah.
Et pourquoi le français?
Pourquoi? C'était compulsaire, obligatoire à l'école pendant 3 ans.
Ah, d'accord. Oh, c'est vrai, tu parles l'anglais, donc pour toi, c'est le français. OK.
Oui, c'est la langue je parle le plus couramment.
Oui.
Après l'anglais, je pense, parce que je le parle souvent.
D'accord. Et tu l'as pris à l'école?
Oui, j'ai pris à l'école pendant 7 ans. Et puis après fini l'école, j'ai travaillé pendant 1 an avant d'aller à l'université. Et j'ai passé 3 mois en France, travaillé dans les fermes.
Où ça? Où ça?
Au sud de la France, dans le département de... Comment ça s'appelle? Près de Toulouse, au sud de la France. Dans des petites fermes, il n'y avait pas beaucoup de voisins.
Tu as parlé avec les animaux?
Oui, j'ai parlé avec des vaches, des brebis, les cochons.
Les cochons, oui, les petits cochons.
Oui, les lapins.
Les lapins, oui. Pensez à lapin. Je me souviens quand j'ai pris cette expression en français. Il m'a posé un lapin.
Deuxième ferme où j'ai travaillé, c'était une maison avec, on a habité à un côté et les animaux étaient à l'autre côté.
Ce sont les voisins.
Oui.
Very good, very good. Simon, as I told you, I was listening to some of your podcasts, and I have some topics. It was, I think it's the 38 that you talk about success and failure.
Oh yeah.
About learning languages, and I think it's you said was this one, and the other one, the 33, giving up. It was probably one of the most downloaded, and you was a little bit astonished. You didn't know exactly why people really took this decision, but
is it? As I was saying, is it because people are wanting to give up with learning languages, looking for reasons to do so, wondering, is this right for me?
You see, it was interesting because in my program, Más idiomas, más vidas, more languages, more lives. For me, I try to help people to turn into a self-taught person that they can be really able to learn by themselves. Then, of course, you have a lot of other possibilities. You can find a good teacher, a good school. You have a lot of contents, a lot of possibilities with the technology. But you say exactly something that maybe more than 90% of the people, so it's a huge majority, that they try to do it by themselves. They at the end they just say,
that's what I found. I don't know if it's accurate, but
you have just to reduce my potential market in 90%.
But I know with language courses, people drop out if it's a long language course, 3 months or 6 months or whatever. You may start with 30 people. At the end, maybe you only have 10 or less.
So you think it's useful to go some kind of classes or some?
It can be if that suits you. You know, I've done classes at school in French and German, and university in Chinese and Japanese, and since then I've done classes in Welsh and Irish. They were useful, but the most useful part was actually being able to practice using the languages outside the classroom. Actually,
Absolutely.
sitting in the classroom I found a bit tedious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are some things that the teacher can help you with that they can explain, but the most important thing for me was being able to practice using the language with other learners and other native speakers.
And that's why many people, they just decided not to do that, because I think it's you need to do a great effort. I mean, it's relatively comfortable and easy just to stay reactive in a class, and you just receive a lot of information, but your brain is processing just quite few things, and then you just go home and you are happy because you stay 2 hours that day at the school, at the language school. But it's true that to do the effort to be proactive and to talk, mainly at the beginning when you have an A or a B level, it's not easy. And I understand that most of the people just give it up. I mean, it's just a matter of energy. I mean, the more energy you need, the less people will do it. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think certain people do find classes useful and learn a lot, but not a lot of people don't.
That's true.
It depends on many factors: the number of people in the class, the teacher, the material they're using.
Absolutely. That's I always says that it depends. Every person is completely different. I remember when I was at the university, I decided not to go to classes most of the time. I was lucky because my university was not compulsory to do it. And I just took the notes of the other students, my friends, and then I just prepared the examination, doing a lot of problems. I mean, it was I was studying engineering, so it was just to solve problems, the examination. And I remember then sometimes I started to study, I don't know, a subject or whatever, and I really I was unable to see if this part of the subject I went to these classes or not. I have forgotten the classes that I have assisted. So I really realized that my productivity in the classes was very, very slow. Maybe I was thinking about the moon or whatever. And I have a very good, it's in fact my best friend. He's a mathematician, and he told me, for me it was exactly the opposite. When I studied, I remember perfectly most of the time, because he used to go most of the time to classes, all these classes, and he remembered exactly how the teacher explained, even questions about that. And for him, it was extremely useful. It just different way for and we're talking about science. I mean, I can understand a huge difference between humanities and science, for instance, at the university. It's a completely different subject. Science, it's more that you need to think by yourself, and in engineering or mathematics or physics, you need to solve problems. You need to find a solution. If you are studying literature, it's a completely different way of using your brain, and probably physically different parts of our brain. So I can understand that. But for me, I think it's okay. Maybe the first 20 minutes I can pick it up some things, but then I lose my concentration. Yeah. So I think it's true. You need to practice. You talk about I think it was in the 33 podcast, Giving Up. You talk about 3 different reasons, and you told in priority order why the people decided to give it up, continuing learning a language. The first of all, for you, it was the loss of interest. The second, quite a question of time. Just a matter of time. People have no time, so they just give it up. And third, it was very interesting because you talk about your own experience about that. It's to get distracted. Nowadays, it's very, very, very easy to get distracted.
Exactly, yes.
So just let's talk a little bit about these 3 points, because it's
Okay.
I found that's really, really important. I mean, if you want to learn a language, this kind of information are very useful at the very beginning.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, it is very easy to get distracted. I find that all the time. There's so many things that you could be watching or listening to or doing all the time. You can discipline yourself to varying degrees. You say, you know, I'm not going to look at my phone today or for this certain time period. I'm going to concentrate on doing one thing. Or you're going to, you know, get rid of your social media apps if you don't, or disable them or something, to find ways to stop getting distracted. But it is difficult. You know, we're used to being able to have information available all the time, and then whatever you think, you're doing something and you think, oh, where does that word come from, or where's that place, or, you know, and there's all sorts of things when you're learning a language that you can learn about. I find this when working on Omniglot as well. Yeah, I'm adding a page about a new language, say, and I find about information about the language and how it's written and pronounced, and a bit about where it's spoken and who speaks it. But that opens up a whole world, really. Each language is like a whole world.
Yeah.
There's history and culture and so many different things connected to each language. And then you can just get lost in that world.
You see, for me, it was interesting because in my program, I try to deal with these 3 aspects in a particular way, just in order to have, let's say, more chances to overcome this possibilities to lose your motivation. No?
Yeah.
And for instance, to get distracted, of course it's true. That's it's very easy because we have a lot of lights coming from a different place. We have the lights of internet, TV, friends, etc., etc., etc. And that's why it's an art. That's not easy to do it. But if you try to create the right immersion in this language, because you are changing all the things around you. For instance, the language in your mobile phone. If you are going to chat, let's try to chat with people, native speakers. If you want to watch TV, okay, don't worry, I get distracted with the TV, but all the TV is in this language. The radio. If you try to do some changes, of course, it's not so easy, because if you are with your family and your family, okay, they just want to talk in their mother tongue. Okay, you have a problem. You may have a communication problem, and that's not so a good idea. But I think it's really possible if you just understand why don't get distracted. It's so important to keep on learning, and you try to change some things. That you can really get much better results. And then no time.
Definitely.
In I think it will be in a couple of weeks. I will give a conference here at the university. And it's I talk about what I wrote in my book, the shareable time. It's a time that you can use to do maybe 2 or 3 things at the same time. For instance, maybe you are just washing dishes in your kitchen, and at the same time you have your headphones and you're listening to a podcast.
Exactly.
So you say
I do that.
Yeah, that's relative. I mean, there is one question. That's a fact for everybody, for every human beings. Everybody has 24 hours a day. So what does it mean I have no time? That means that you decided to do something different. But you have 24 hours. So if you can use some, and I figured out it will be around 1-2 hours a day, minimum, that you can use it really to improve your language skills. And you are just trying to overcome this. Of course, it's always a problem. No time means that 24 hours, it's sometimes not enough when we want to do so many things one day. And then the most interesting thing, and for me, it's the probably the most important thing. It's motivation. And you talk about lost.
Absolutely, yes.
If you are not motivated, I mean, maybe you may learn easy languages like Spanish or Italian or English at a B1 level. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you are not motivated, because it's a matter of many years, probably, you are lost. So what could you say to people who want to keep their motivation?
Yeah. Well, you have to think about, why you're learning the language, what you want to achieve with it. Imagine yourself doing the things you want to do with the language. You say, right, I want to be able to go to an Italian restaurant and order food and talk to the waiters and be able to have a conversation. That's a fairly achievable goal. That's not too difficult to do. And you can focus on the things you need to do to achieve that. And then you think about other things you might want to do. You want to understand your favorite soap opera in Spanish or whatever it might be. That would take longer, probably, because there'll be lots of vocabulary that would be unfamiliar. But that's a fun thing to do. If you're following the story, you want to know what's happening with these people, what's going on. I think making connections like that, either virtual with people on TV or actual connections in real life or online, I think that is one of the main motivations for learning a language, for me anyway.
That we may have, for me, in fact,
so,
it's
and then actually part of finding time to learn, as you said, you can do several things at the same time. You wash dishes and listen to a podcast, or I do that when I'm cooking as well, or doing housework. I'll be listening to audiobooks or podcasts.
Fortunately, now it is possible. We have a lot of technology. We have a lot of contents, and some of them really very good quality. I remember it was 1 month ago that I was trying to find some interesting podcasts for one of my students. She was studying French, and I found a couple of really amazing, very interesting things. And I thought, wow, once again, I have no time. I have time, but I need to put all my energy for the moment in the Russian language and also the German. A little bits of Italian and Esperanto, but mainly Russian and German. And I remember when I sent her the email with all these links, I was eager to say, wow, I want to find half an hour, maybe the weekend, just to listen to this podcast for a while, because it was so interesting. I mean, so good energy the people were transmitting that I said, wow, that's cool. I mean, it was not particularly interesting for me because I understand French pretty well, because it's very close to Spanish, so it's not so complicated. But it was the content itself, not the language.
Yeah, but it's, exactly. Finding things that like that interest you, that you want to listen to. Yeah, and also with time. I saw a video about this. This guy saying there's a 15-minute kind of rule. If you can do something for 15 minutes, that's not too difficult. Even if it's something you don't want to do, just set a timer. You say, right, I'm going to do whatever I need to do for 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes, 15 minutes per day.
15. No, it could be 15 minutes in the morning, then another in the afternoon, and more in the evening. Spread it out during the day. But he was doing it for kind of tasks he didn't really want to do. Cleaning the house or getting rid of junk or whatever. But he found quite often he'd do more than that. Sometimes you do 15 minutes or whatever it is, and they say, right, that's enough. Other times you think, all right, I'm actually enjoying this. Let's do more.
I continue.
So if you kind of get into the habit and build up gradually, if you start from the beginning and say, right, I'm going to study for 2 hours every day and set this time aside to do that, often you'll find you have to do other things anyway, You can't always do it at the same time. Life gets in the way, and it's hard to study for 2 hours without a break. It's better to break it up and do half an hour here, 15 minutes there, 10 minutes there, and integrate it into your everyday life. Find ways to make part of your life in the language you're learning.
Exactly. But one question, Simon, that's interesting. Once again, every person it's unique. That works for you. I mean, if you say, okay, I don't want, or I don't like, or I cannot sit down for 1-2 hours to study. I prefer to spread it out during the day and pick up some minutes during the day. That works for you?
Yeah, that works for me.
It's interesting because for me, I'm more, let's say, German, maybe.
Yeah.
I prefer just to take 1 hour and keep the concentration. Why? Because for me, to change the matter, I mean, even if I'm studying German and then I continue with Russian, I feel in my brain that I need to make an effort. It's not so fluent, and I say, okay, I think it's better not to have so many changes, and I will save energy during the day. Yeah. But I think it's just how I work, and it's interesting for you. It's the opposite.
That works for you. But,
Wonderful.
And also, something I've done sometimes is, I've learned a new language through a language I already know. So I learnt Breton through French, or tried to.
I did it with the French.
So I improved my French and learnt some Breton at the same time.
At the same time, there is always a risk of misunderstanding.
Sure, yeah.
But it's a good, it's a good methodology. Definitely.
Or when I read books in other languages, I was reading a book in Welsh, and I was translating it as I was going on into Irish, or vice versa, reading in Irish and translating into Welsh. So practicing both languages and reading aloud as well. That's what I find very useful.
Yes, reading aloud, it's crucial. It's a wonderful.
Even better if you can find an audiobook.
Yes,
and you got the text, and you can listen to it, and then you can read along, and that's a very useful thing. Useful thing to do, especially if you find a text that's interesting, a story that you want to read.
Absolutely, it's a matter of repeating what you're listening to. It's like we did as a child again. It's repetition, and it's it's a very good way to practice.
Yeah,
I maybe not this year. Probably, I think I need maybe another couple of years. I want to do exactly that with German, Russian.
Yeah,
I think it will be quite fun because it's there are a lot of interest in between the two countries. A lot of cultural contents and books and many interesting things, even movies. And I think it's it's a very good way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
So it's a very good practice. Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also it was very interesting. You talk also you speak another language. It's the language of music, and I saw maybe 3 or 4 different podcasts talking about that. Yeah, and you have some music of your own in the podcast. It was for me.
Yeah, every podcast features my own music.
That's wonderful. It's
the theme tune that they start with. I wrote that, and then there's other songs and tunes I've written that I feature.
Yeah, at the end, I'm sure that there are a lot of similarities because we're talking about also language. It's the language.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, I started with the piano, I think, when I was 7. And I had lessons for 5 years. Then I started clarinet and saxophone. And then I didn't play music for a long time after I left school. I played for a couple of years, but I stopped having lessons and I stopped practicing so often. And eventually I just stopped playing altogether. I just listened to it and tried to sing some songs, and I wasn't really into it. But then when I started going to Ireland back in 2005, I think it was. Yeah, lots of people there are into music. They sing and play music. And I got into traditional Irish music when I was at school. And I loved the sound of the music and the songs and the language, and that's why I wanted to learn it. And that inspired me to take up music again. And I had lessons on the guitar, and I started playing the piano again. And then I got a bit carried away and got many other instruments. So I have harps and guitars and mandolin and a Portuguese instrument called the cavaquinho, which I write a lot of my tunes on, and the ukulele and recorders and all sorts of other instruments. And I don't play them every day, but I really enjoy it. Just playing, improvising, making up tunes. And I have a group of friends. We meet regularly and we write songs together. We share our songs, and I sing in choirs. So yeah, music is a major part of my life.
That's wonderful.
And
yeah,
I think
that's what's the impression that I have of your podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and learning music is a lot like learning a language.
That was my next question.
Yeah, because with language, you got words and you got grammar, and you need to learn both of them. I mean, how you learn them is another matter. Whether you sit down with a grammar book and try and memorize everything, or you just try and absorb it through being immersed in the language and try and work out how it works, or don't worry about it at all and just try and put the words together and don't care about making mistakes. With music, you've got music theory, and you can study, all about the notes and how they go together and chords and all sorts of academic things. Or you can just try and listen to music and try and copy what you're hearing and make up tunes. And if you don't understand what you're trying to do with the theory, you can still make good music. You can still sing well, even if you don't have good technique. But if you do learn, if you want to be able to be an accomplished musician, to be able to play and sing well, you need to learn the technique, the theory. I've seen lots of folk musicians. I go to music sessions where people will play folk music, particularly from Wales and Ireland and Scotland. And some are entirely self-taught. They can't read music. They don't know anything about music theory, but they play very well. But sometimes you can tell their technique. If they went to a music teacher, they'd say, "Oh, you don't hold an instrument like that. If you're playing the violin, there's a special way to hold the bow." And if you see a classical musician, they all do it in the same way, pretty much. But lots of folk musicians will do it in different ways, and they'll hold their instrument in different ways. It doesn't mean they play badly. It's just in some ways it can limit the way they play. And it's same with languages. You can learn a language very well and speak it fluently, but maybe you make lots of mistakes in your grammar.
Definitely. Yeah, or the other way around. Maybe you may have a very wonderful knowledge about grammar and theory and maybe etymology or whatever, but you can't speak. That's quite common.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You might know all the grammar or all the music theory, but you might not be able to speak or play an instrument well.
One question: do you think that people especially gifted for music have, let's say, it's easier for them to learn languages, or maybe this is in different parts of our brain and that's nothing to do?
I think in some cases, yes. It's not automatic. I know some people who are very good at music and languages, and also people who are very good at mathematics and languages.
Exactly. I think there is some kind of relationship. Now, I was thinking about mathematicians and chess player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true that if you have such a powerful brain for being a good musician, good mathematician, or a chess master, probably you also have a very well equipped and structured mind to do something that probably it's easier for you, like learn a new language.
Yeah.
So
it's not automatic that it will happen, but it is. I think if you have musical talents and gifts, or whatever it might be, skills, then you have a good ear for sounds, and that definitely helps with languages, especially tonal languages like Chinese and Thai and Tibetan, and learning to pronounce different sounds.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Yeah.
You're good at spotting different patterns and how things go together. That helps with music. The same with mathematics. You're good at pattern recognition and learning how to structure things. I think engineers and mathematicians might be better at understanding grammar, how language works like that. Although they may get frustrated with all the irregularities some languages have.
They need to study Esperanto.
Exactly.
Why Esperanto?
Why not?
Why not? You know, just let me tell you, I got a friend that I met also in the polyglot gathering. And thanks to her, I started with this language not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I thought your podcast said, I thought, wow, interesting. Why did you decide to study Esperanto? Because it's something for me, let's say, atypical.
Yeah. Well, I studied it. I started studying it back in 1998, I think.
A long time ago.
Yeah, I had some spare time. I just finished working in Taiwan, decided to do something different. I was trying to set up my own business. That's when Omniglot started. I was trying to set up my own business doing web design and translation and looking for a job at the same time. And I thought, I'd heard about Esperanto, and I thought, why not give it a try? I'd never met anybody who spoke it at the time. And
for me, it was very interesting from this engineering point of view. How you build the language?
Sure, yeah.
Such a practical and logical way. For me, that was for me the Esperanto. It has been much more the construction of this language itself than the language. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting. It's not nothing to do with all the irregularities that you may find in Spanish, Russian. It's full of irregularities. I mean, I always said my wife is from the Ukraine. I always tell her the Russians don't know what the rule is because all our exceptions and seems to be completely random.
Yeah. With Esperanto, you don't have those irregularities, and that does make it a lot easier to learn.
Absolutely.
But in the vocabulary, it's not all taken from one root, is it? There's lots of words from Latin roots, and then some from German, some from Slavic languages. It's quite a mixture.
It's a mixture. Yeah. Are you going to go to the Esperanto World Congress in Belfast in July? I'm not so sure if it will be.
Is it an actual
online
actual thing? Is it happening in?
Yeah, it's virtual. I read. I think it was on a website. I don't remember where. This World Congress that's supposedly this year. It's in Belfast.
Oh, yeah.
For you, it's not too far.
No, exactly. That's easy to get to. Yeah. But I don't know about actually going there in July.
I really would like to attend, but it's true that July is not. It's not easy because it's also summertime, but I really would like it. One of the things that this friend of mine told me about the Esperanto, she told me, there is such a huge movement and so many activities and the people, the community, it's so active and so powerful that just to have the chance to meet also all these people, it's really worthy. And I immediately thought, wow, that sounds really good.
Yeah,
really
sure. And that was one reason why I got interested. when I started learning Esperanto, I found this blog about this girl who was traveling around Europe, just staying with people who spoke Esperanto using Pasporto Server, the kind of early version of couch surfing.
Interesting.
And so you could go and stay with people and meet up with people and just have tours of their cities in Esperanto. And it's very interesting. I thought, no, that's cool.
Very interesting. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because when
another...
I visit a new country, if I had gone to the polyglot gathering in Poland,
is this year?
It's supposed to be this year. It's going to be virtual, and again, it's online.
I don't know. It's about the polyglot gathering this year.
Yeah,
for me it was a really wonderful experience in Bratislava.
Sure. Yeah,
yes,
but the online version is not quite the same. It has its advantages in some ways.
Yeah,
because you don't have to spend a lot of money and travel to somewhere else to go to take part. So lots of people around the world can take part who wouldn't normally be able to do so.
Yes, definitely. This is always the advantages of internet, that you can be everywhere at the same time without moving from your sofa.
Yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Simon, you have another podcast. It's the 31. You talk about talent, languages.
Yeah.
Do you think that we can talk about such a thing like a special talent for languages?
Well, from my own experience, from what I've seen of people and heard about people, there are definitely some people who seem to pick up languages quickly. And whether this is some innate talent they have, they're born with, or it's something they do because they like languages and they're highly motivated and dedicated to learning, I don't know. I think there are definitely, some people who have talents for music or art or sport or whatever, and they seem to pick them up, learn them very quickly and easily compared with other people.
Yes, for me, it's I have no doubt that everybody has a certain level of
but I don't know what it is this talent. Is it that you're better at?
I think also it's a mixture of things, because some people
probably it's a different combination of abilities.
Speaking a language, it's a lot of different things. You need some memory. You need to a good ear to understand. You need to have I don't know, just the facility to talk. Even with your personality, if you are very shy and you never talk, wow, it's maybe it's not so easy. I learned in two different things or three different things that shy people learn better foreign languages. And the first time that I read that, I thought, why? I've never thought about that, but my first impression was no, it should be the opposite. But then
I think so, but
but it makes sense, because usually the introspective people usually take used to read more, to study more, and maybe to I don't know, to go further in this process than people who are just,
that's true.
Just sociable. Okay, they talk a lot, but if you don't study, if you don't learn new words, if you don't read, probably your conversation at the end will be, let's say, quite simple. I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar to the there's a debate about whether you should start speaking from day one. There are people who say, you should just learn a few phrases and go and find someone to talk to and try and have a conversation. And others say, no, you should study a bit more and take your time. And when you feel ready, go out and find people to talk to. And there's good on both sides. If you're very confident and you go out and talk to people and use whatever words and phrases then you're going to start learning to speak the language. But if you don't spend time actually studying it and learning vocabulary and listening and reading, then your level is not going to be very high.
Exactly.
You make lots of mistakes.
This literacy, you need to study to have it.
And I read a study somewhere saying that people who just go and talk, they may become fluent in the language much more quickly, but they won't learn it very well because they don't learn the grammar in such detail. But if you tend to spend more time learning it, and you pay attention to the grammar, then you'll end up speaking it much better in the end, although it takes longer perhaps. And a friend of mine from Germany,
you may speak more precise.
She decided to learn to study in Finland, and before she went, she spent 9 months learning Finnish, concentrating on learning vocabulary and grammar. And when she got to Finland, within a few months, she was speaking Finnish fluently and well.
Wow, it's a very difficult language.
Yeah, it's a very difficult language. But she's a very motivated person, and very dedicated. She runs marathons. She does all sorts of things.
So
she works hard. Yeah,
very powerful person.
Very focused.
Discipline. Yeah.
So it is possible, but not many people perhaps could learn like that.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely there are people who have special talent. For instance, for me, the memory, it's also a crucial point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my memory works associating ideas. I don't have a photographic memory. It's if I take one page, for me, it's almost impossible to learn the whole text by heart.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I take 2 weeks, because for me, it makes no sense. It's just my brain takes very quickly the idea, but just one word after the other, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, I can repeat it more or less, but exactly like that, for me, it's a problem. And some people are, it's for them, it's really the opposite. People have really a very, very, very powerful memory. I remember one friend of mine in Berlin. He's a doctor, so his brain is used to learn by heart a lot of texts, a lot of things, and for him it was easier to learn German than for me in this sense. It's very interesting, very, very interesting. Simon, just last question.
Okay.
If you have to say, okay, what means languages for me, and how languages have changed my life? And, just maybe if you want to make a comparison, let's say a virtual comparison between yourself right now and Simon, with your same age, with your same experiences, but without all things that have to do with languages.
Yeah.
Which will be the differences between these two Simons?
So many differences. I've been making my living from Omniglot now since 2008. So without languages, I would not be able to do that.
Yeah, you would be just.
I would be doing something completely different. I wouldn't have traveled so widely. Probably I wouldn't have studied abroad. I wouldn't have met so many interesting people and had so many experiences in other countries. Yeah, so I don't know what I'd be doing if I hadn't studied languages. Maybe some kind of musical things.
Maybe you would be a rock star, something like that.
I don't think so, but
maybe
there's a parallel universe where I'm a musician or a famous singer or something. I don't know. There's so many different possibilities. I'm also interested in circus. I got into juggling when I was very young, and I've always practiced various juggling and other circus skills. And I thought maybe one day I could become a circus performer or trainer. That might be cool. I did look into doing that, or I thought about being a teacher, or I'm very interested in history and archaeology. So there's many different possibilities. If I hadn't studied languages,
it's clear that you have you like many different things. As a matter of fact, you said you say that many times in your podcast, that you have it was very interesting how do you develop a little bit the idea of that's true that nowadays in our society, and that's very American, that the concept of the number one, it's a person that puts all his life, all his energy, all his capacities just to do something extremely good.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the opposite,
Yes.
the richness of our life, and how many different things and how many possibilities we have. I agree in this sense with you. For me,
Sure.
If you turned into a real international worldwide expert on whatever, it's true that from the financial point of view, probably you will make a lot of money, you will make skill without any problem, but at the same time you will be a person probably poorer, probably, I don't know, not so rich in any case. But
maybe, yeah, it depends on your own personality and motivations and interests.
Absolutely. It's a personal decision, and all decisions are always respectful. Absolutely, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful, because we may see this different people with let's say in the extreme even of this two possibilities. But it was very interesting how do you develop a little bit this two extreme possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Simon, I really appreciate your time. It was very interesting the talk with you, and I really thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
your time. As soon as I can finish with the video, I will send you the link. I will put it always in YouTube.
Yep.
And probably I will contact you, because I'm trying to find, I saw very interesting podcast, and I discovered one with you, with your podcast. I don't remember now his name. I think it's you have even a podcast with him, someone from Denmark, I think.
Oh yeah, Chris Brome. Yeah,
exactly. He has a website with I think more than 180 podcasts. Very interesting.
Yeah, he's done a lot. Yeah.
Yes, and there are many interesting things in English. Obviously, it's the international language, but not so many in Spanish.
No.
And for me, that's really interesting. I mean, this is the first interview that I do in Spanish from my from my channel. I'm trying to do everything in Spanish, because if not, it's also confusing for the people. Yeah. But in any case, it's always interesting to put something in English, and I think it's not so difficult to understand. But I'm trying to do a little bit the same idea, just to try to motivate people to learn languages and to keep on, not to give it up, like we were talking at the beginning. And I find this kind of podcast for me very interesting. And it's at the end, we are learning by doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with these kind of things, for me, these are the two crucial points: to enjoy and to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, and if not, it will be stupid, because if you do it for free, you need to enjoy it and you need to learn, because if not, there is something that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But okay, thank you very much again. And
all right, no worries.
If you I forgot it, what I want to tell you. If you have in mind some of your contacts, friends, or whatever, a polyglot, not the most the biggest polyglot or the most well-known. Okay, it could be also interesting, but for me, it's more interesting personal experiences.
Sure.
Something that people may find, and you may consider that it would be possible also to have a talk with him like this. It would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be interested. Yeah.
Wonderful. Or just to know different people with whom I can contact. So, in any case, we keep in contact, Simon.
Yeah, sure.
And I wish you all the best with the Spanish language. And return to the Russian. Я хочу говорить по-русски с тобой. I would like to talk with you a little bit in Russian.
Yeah. I really need to go now. It's time for my dinner.
Yes, it's just 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay, Simon. Thanks a lot, and we just keep in contact.
Okay. Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right.
See you.
Adios.
Adios. Ciao, ciao.